All right, fantastic. I guess that is a great place to start. And this month is actually Cybersecurity Awareness Month, both in the US and across Europe. And I think it was a good month also to just focus on, like you said, what is cybersecurity? Are we aware of what it means and how do we protect ourselves? So basically, cybersecurity in very layman terms is just how to ensure that we are protected as we're in the cyber world, online space, using technology, social media, our devices, email, everything that you do in the tech space and online. There's always an avenue, or there's always a gap where you can be quote unquote attacked online. So cybersecurity really just means how do you protect yourself from falling into the potential risk that exists when you are playing online in that space. And that covers all aspects, everything from as simple as the passwords that you use, all the way to the type of information that you share online when you click on the website. There's always potholes along the way, and it's important that parents and children are aware of it so we can reduce the chances of being victims of people who have illegal ideas online. So there's a lot to know, and because, so we just completed our 8th annual parenting conference, which held on Saturday. And one of the things that we discussed was the fact that what makes parenting today so challenging is that we're parenting in a time that doesn't have a rule book. Parenting in the modern age by default, there's no copy and paste to follow. So when it comes to physical life, a lot of us know what to teach children. A child should know to greet an elder, right? A child should know to say, please, thank you. There are certain things that are accepted norms when you are raising a child for the physical world. No matter where you live, there are basic things that are expected across different cultures, across different countries. When it comes to the digital space, because we're all playing catch up, that's part of why a lot of people don't know what is expected. That's why a lot of children who were born into a digital world don't necessarily know where to draw the line between what I'm sharing online is still part of showing up in life, quote and unquote. So because I'm online doesn't mean that the rules of common sense has disappeared. So that's part of what is making it so challenging. So for parents, what we want to start thinking about more and more, and what we want to be second nature in your parenting, intentional parenting, is that you think about the virtual world just the same way you would think about the physical world, and try to make sure that things are mirroring as much as possible. So rather than a parent saying, I just don't understand this tech world, I don't understand what my child is always doing online, just put yourself in a perspective that if that was physical, would you say the same thing? Most parents won't say, I don't know who my children's friends are. When they tell me they are going out and somebody asks you, where did your child go? No responsible parent is going to say, you know what? I don't know where my child went. I don't know whose house they went to. I don't know when they're coming back. You wouldn't do that. You would know the child is in my neighbor's house, is in their friend's house, is on a play date. I'm going to pick them at 6 o'clock. You know who's going to pick them. So as simplistic as that sounds, we need to start bringing that into the online space as well when we're thinking about what does it mean to protect our children online. I think it's important indeed that we start moving away from just monitoring. Monitoring is just one aspect of it. It's almost as if, I want to use this example, and I think using examples of our daily lives helps to make things, make sense for us. So for example, a parent wouldn't only focus on telling a child how to, stay safe in the house by avoiding using knives, for example, right? If you're talking about being safe in the kitchen and you want to teach a child how to cook at a particular age, all you focus on maybe is don't touch the knife because it can cut you, right? But at a particular age, you're going to be teaching your child, or you should be teaching your child how to use a knife in a safe way so that he or she can start to cut things like cut bread. As they get older, they'll evolve into using slightly sharper knives, right, to cut other things. So it's the same thing with the online space. We can't only focus on monitoring our children, because if you always only focus on monitoring them, that means you're not teaching them themselves about how to show up online, how to be responsible online, and what they should be doing online versus only focusing on what you shouldn't be doing. And that's the fine line between raising a responsible digital citizen, is you want to move away from constantly telling them what not to do and working with them to know what to do online. So cybersecurity awareness for parents, and I guess we can get into what are some of the trends, why are they trending, and what should parents be aware of so that they can help their children in that direction. There are 5 things I noted because, like you said, we have to be very practical about it. It's very easy to talk about all of these things, and for most parents, because they are usually just starting out, or even if you have been a bit more aware, there's something is always changing, something is always coming up. So there's always the feeling of catch up. So let's talk about maybe 5 areas that I feel like we can at least kick off with. And the first one is to keep in mind that the attacks happening online now, they are much more sophisticated. So a cyber attack, cyber crime includes somebody, for example, hacking your system, getting access to your passwords, right? I'm sure we've heard of people whose social media pages, for example, or accounts have been hacked. People's websites have been hacked. People's emails have been hacked. You know, being hacked is an example of being a victim of a cyber attack. And anybody can be a victim of that. So when you think about that, it's the same way with your house. If you are raising your child, you don't expect your child to give anybody a copy of their keys to their house, right? Or tell them the password to your security system for your house if you're somebody who uses security systems. So it's the same thing with the fact that online people are hacking much more at a higher rate. You know, I was looking at the research that said that 52% of the crimes that are reported online are usually from people who have been hacked. So more than half is usually somebody saying somebody hacked my system. And because they hacked my system, they now do all sorts of things. They steal your data, they steal your money, you know, they impersonate you. So you want to help your child understand what it means to avoid being a victim of hacking. And one very simple thing you can take away is make sure that your passwords are strong. A lot of people use very simple passwords, maybe their child's name or their birth date or their favorite pet. All those things are very easy to be guessed by a cyber criminal. You know, so there's a way to create good passwords. It should be a mix of uppercase, lowercase, symbols. Don't use things that it's easy for anybody to guess, and don't use the same password across all your accounts. A lot of people are guilty of that. It's the same password you use for Instagram, for email, for Facebook, do you know what I mean? This is where you then want to use password managers that exist to help you manage all the different passwords. But that's why hacking is increasing and being so easy for cyber criminals to succeed, because most people use the same sequence or use the same password for everything. So once they figure out one, guess what? It's easy to get all the others. The second one I want to talk about is, you know, being very careful what you download. A lot of people will see a pop-up at least between one time to maybe 100 times a day. Something is going to pop up. And because, you know, the systems are set up in such a way, algorithms, cookies, they're set up in such a way to serve you more of what you are doing online. Which is why, for example, today, if you were to start looking for, I don't know, birthday cake, for example, you will suddenly start seeing a lot of ads popping up for birthday cakes just because you Googled it. Exactly. So from a digital marketing expert perspective, I know that what's happening is retargeting. So once you search for something, you are being retargeted for a particular number of days. That's where the cookies come in. So you can say that for the next 30 days, this particular person should consistently see ads and things luring her to click on this particular type of ad because she has told us that she's thinking about birthday cakes. So we all have to be very careful on what you click on. So because something is popped up does not mean you should click on it, even though it's serving you more of what you want. So psychologically, you're thinking, oh, how do they know that I'm actually looking for somebody for birthday cake now for my brother or my friend or somebody? So we have to be very careful what we click on. Everybody should think and pause before they click on it. Is it from a site you want? Because when you click on something that you shouldn't, and if it's somebody that has a illegal thought process going on, that could also be a way to introduce malware that opens up your system for potential attacks. So when you teach your children this as well, they won't click on anything that says, click here to win a PS5. A child might click on that innocently thinking, wow, I can win a PS5. From there, you don't know what series of steps that link will open your child up to, and then their system can get compromised. One thing that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to cybersecurity is because, the hackers out there and the cyber criminals out there have become much smarter. Gone are the days when you're going to get an email from somebody who's writing a very poorly written email telling you that, maybe they are a prince and they need you to, I'm sure we've all gotten those kind of 419 emails in the past. All of that has really changed. So now you want to make sure you don't ignore, how your phone will tell you new software, updates, and all of that, or your app as well. All these different apps we use will tell you that there's an update. A lot of people ignore it, but you want to make sure that you're always updating your systems, because those companies themselves are constantly working against being hacked. So every time they find a bug or something that's a gap, they're constantly updating their systems. So if you don't update it, then you are being more susceptible to being hacked. So let's all pay attention to that. So when your systems are telling you that there's an update, install it now. Try and make sure you do it so that you reduce the chances of somebody who's a hacker of attacking your system. So remember, here we're focusing on, we can't only just monitor children. We're trying to talk about all the things that we should all be aware of. And the more we talk about it, the more it becomes second nature. So in addition to the things we've mentioned, the next thing I want to mention is something that a lot of us do without thinking so much. Because most of us are showing up online with the purest heart and purest intentions, you can't possibly be thinking about what cyber attacks might be lurking. So for example, you get online, you share a post when you're emotional, or you share a post that you're traveling tomorrow to this particular place, your location is turned on. I remember recently when I took a trip, I was amazed to find out that Snapchat showed somebody was in the airport at the same time with me. First of all, by the location, and also showing the person's avatar holding a traveling bag. Updated it such that the person, it showed that they were actually pulling a carrier bag, or one of those little, what's it called? The carrier bag when you're traveling. So we reached out to the person and said, are you in the airport right now? They're like, yes, actually I am. I'm about to travel. How do you know? Snapchat had given us that info. So it's easy for you to think, so you have to sit back and imagine you're talking to a child and a child says, yes, what's the big deal about that? Versus you talk about it from a perspective of, should everybody know what you're doing? Do you see the potential security risk of somebody knowing that at that very moment you are in the airport about to travel, location is tagged, everything? For somebody who maybe has ideas of breaking into somebody's house, God forbid, right? If somebody says I've traveled and they should happen to know where you live, and guess what? Thanks to a Google today and your social media, I can know whether or not you live in Lekki, right? I can know the street you live on. I can probably even narrow down using Google Maps and all these geotagging things to identify the actual house you live on the street in the neighborhood you live in. So we just have to think about it from that perspective, that you don't have to give the whole world your itinerary blow by blow. And I think just bringing that awareness in helps us to think before we post. That, okay, let me look at my social media handles, and let your children get used to this. Am I private? Am I being followed by anybody in the world? Everything that I share, is everybody seeing it? Or is it only just my close friends seeing it? So we need to be thinking about these things so that we help our children think about how, I love saying this, how are they showing up online? And it covers so much. Who is following you? Who are you giving access to your life? And should you be giving access to everybody in the world online? So it's really important about that, because it's been amazing how people nowadays can paint a picture about you specifically and use that to target you, to attack you in the online space. And, I guess the last thing is kind of tied to what we just spoke about with terms of what you share. But in terms of when you are online, children and adults, everybody actually needs to think about what you are being asked to share. So if you click on something, and a lot of people in Nigeria, for example, who do online banking or mobile banking have been scammed because they get a text, right, that says, click here to put in your banking details because we want to confirm that your account is, updated or whatever it is. Some people don't know that. So if they click on that link, they think it came from their bank, but it actually didn't. Some click on it, and then that link is asking you for some very personal information, like your address or your date of birth or your mother's maiden name or your account number. Don't put that information in. You're better off to err on the side of caution and call your account officer if you have to, than just trust whatever you get through email. And because they're very sophisticated now, they will personalize that message to you. They can say, "Dear Ify, we want you to please click here to update your bank account details." Because your name is in there, you might think, oh, this is really for me, right? But it's part of the sophistication nowadays of how cyber criminals really know how to target specific people. So I know we've said a lot, but these are just a few things that if you start Googling, you start listening to it more, you start thinking about it more, it will start coming up more regularly in your conversations, both for yourself, for your elderly parents, and even for your children, to think about how to stay safe when you are dealing with any digital platforms at all. So as always, you can find a lot of this information on our website at lagosmums.com, and then follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Lagosmums, as we share much more of this information, and we plan much more masterclasses and trainings for parents and their children to learn how to stay safe in the online space.